Okay, hello everyone. Today we are here at L52 Oceano in Southern California. I am sitting in Just Flight's PA-38 Tomahawk, one of my favorite general aviation aircraft. And if you're wondering what looks different about this video from my usual ones, I will give you a hint. That's right, we are in virtual reality, so I took the plunge and bought a Rift S. I've been using it for the last week, and I will give you my impressions of flying in VR in X-Plane on this flight. We're going to have a lot of fun here in Oceano. We're going to take off, do some stalls and spins, and then come back and land back where we took off. Before we do that, though, let's take a look at this awesome airport, which is free from Orbx, from the Orbx website. All right, so here we are. We are inside of the Tomahawk, and that is probably the biggest thing that I could tell you about virtual reality. It's that you are actually inside of the aircraft. I will tell you that I've experimented with the poor man's virtual reality, which is a Google Cardboard headset with an iPhone running the Ivory app. It does give you head tracking, and it does give you 3D. But with that, it's a lot like watching a 3D movie. It's like there's a screen that's suspended maybe 5 inches in front of your face, and things protrude from and recede into the screen. But you feel like you're passive, like you are watching that screen, and that you are not part of it. Same, like if you're sitting on the couch watching a 3D movie on your TV. But with virtual reality, when I put on this headset for the first time and it ran the orientation program, I was just blown away. Everything is 1-to-1 scale, and it wraps around you. It comes right up to your face. It goes off into the distance, and you really feel like you are part of the scene. You are not looking at a screen, but you are actually in a full-scale 3D replica of the world. So it's pretty awesome. When I got into my aircraft here, I think the scale was surprising. So I kind of always envisioned that the panel on my aircraft was about the same size as the dashboard on my car. But this would be a pretty small car, this cockpit for the Tomahawk. This would be like a little two-seater car that is maybe a roadster. It's not like a full-size car that you might drive. So it's much smaller on the inside than I expected. These knobs here on my comm stack are much smaller than I expected. But on the other hand, when I look out the window here at the wing is huge. All the parts of the plane are much bigger than you realize when you're used to playing it in 2D. Some of the other planes I got into, such as the Cirrus SR-22, the prop is huge on that. I mean, I did not realize it. It's not until you can see it full scale that you realize how big it is. It's even more noticeable if you get outside the aircraft and walk around it. I got into the Piper Cheyenne, which is a turboprop, and the engines are frighteningly large when you are sitting here looking out the window at them. They look kind of big, I guess, in 2D, but in 3D, they're just this big chunk of metal. Same thing with scenery. When I fly around Portland, there are many bridges over the Columbia River, and in 2D they look well rendered. It's Orbx Druid scenery. You're like, oh, cool, that looks like a steel bridge, but it's 2 inches on your monitor as you fly over it. But when you fly over it in 3D, the fact that it takes up a third of the screen and it looks distant, you can judge the distance to it, your brain just reads it as huge. So it was sort of like seeing a lot of the scenery for the first time. Bridges that I didn't notice before suddenly were real giant structures that looked like dozens of cars could be going over them at any time. So that's the basic impression of VR. Using the controllers is tricky. you kind of think that you could just touch things with the controller, but you don't. It's really a laser pointer. And once you peg something with the pointer, you can control it. And it doesn't really matter if you're touching it or if you are at a distance. So some things are kind of hard to get to. You know, my my play area is not the size of a Piper Tomahawk. So right now I'm sitting at a desk and my flight controls are on the desk, which means that all of those buttons that are underneath the yoke there for the fuel pump and the landing light, those are physically inside of the desk in real life. I cannot reach them. And I don't know how many times I went to reach them and cracked my hand off of the solid desk that was hovering in front of it. So you have to find workarounds for that to tag them with the laser pointer or add some keyboard shortcuts for it. Other things like these, these are fine. I can reach most of the controls here just fine and grab them. And, you can even grab the flight yoke and just fly with the controller with your hand. It works perfectly fine. So it's a little weird flying X-plane without having any flight controls connected, but you can do that. So anyway, here we are. We're going to quickly get started, and then we're going to take off, get up to a safe altitude, do some stalls and spins, which should look awesome. I'll talk a little bit about what that feels like in virtual reality when I get to that point. And then we're going to try to land. So let's get ourselves started. First thing we're going to do is get our fuel tank to the right fuel tank. We're going to lean over. Another cool thing about VR is you can actually lean over and look at things, see that our circuit breakers are all in. I'm going to get the yoke out of the way so I can tag this and turn on the battery. The carb heat's off. I'm going to go over here and get my panel lights. Ran into my desk. Oop. You can see I played it a lot. My battery's already going low on my one controller. Okay, get the nav lights on. Next, we got the mixture to full rich, the parking brakes on. We'll get our fuel pump on. That looks good. I'm going to open up the window. Crack the throttle. Have a look around. Clear prop. And ignition. Oceano traffic, November 359 Golf Charlie. Taxi, runway 29, Oceano. Oceano traffic, November 359 Golf Charlie, crossing runway 29 for taxi, Oceano. Oceano traffic, November 359 Golf Charlie, departing runway 29, straight out departure, climbing 4,500 Oceano. Rotate. As soon as we're 500 above pattern, we'll make our turn. Alright, make our turn. Oh, that looks fantastic. Now, I don't notice it as much when I'm making a right turn, but when I make a left turn and look over my left shoulder, I can feel the turn in my stomach. It's crazy. It's just a trick of the brain, I realize, but I've had times where my stomach will drop out in virtual reality when I'm flying, which is nuts. There we go, I got the field off to our right there. Climbing up to 2,000. We're going to go up to 4,500, so we've got plenty of breathing room to practice some stalls. Now today the winds are calm here, but when I've flown in wind, it's really uncanny. You can actually feel the wind moving the aircraft around. I mean, you can see it in 2D when you've got a really windy or gusty day, but you could just have, you know, an 8-knot wind, and you can tell, like, you can feel where it's pushing on the aircraft. You can feel that it's a quartering wind pushing on the nose of the aircraft, because you're just really in tune with how the aircraft is moving when you're sitting inside of it. It's a very cool sensation. The other thing I can really notice and feel is uncoordinated turns. So you can get away with not using your rudder in X-plane, but I really notice it here. I can see the nose swing if I don't coordinate a turn using the rudder. You know, in 2D all the mountains sort of blend into a mountain line, but in 3D off to my left here I can see a ridge of mountains, and then I can see in the distance another ridge behind them sticking up. I could also see the break between the mountains straight ahead. And coming up on 4,000, and make my turn. There it is. I could feel that. That is crazy. Oh my gosh. You got the field. I think SoCal in particular, with all the mountains, is awesome to fly over in VFR because you really see the shape and contours of them all. So we're going to do a power off stall. Pull up the nose. Should get the alarm around 52. Stall warning. 50. There it is. And we're going to fall at about 47, I think. Oh, here we go. Oh, oh my gosh. Oh. I need a minute to recover from that. So does my attitude indicator. Climb back up. All right, so that was awesome. Yeah, I felt that. I felt like I was pointing straight down, and I think I'm still a little dizzy from it. I rolled my attitude indicator. All right, get ready for another one. And you're gonna cut power. Nose up. Stall warning. It's holding. There we go. Whoa. I'm gonna let it spin. Whoa. Oh my gosh. I purposely did not try to recover quickly on either of those. I wanted it to spin. All right. It's crazy when you're flying around in VR. You really feel movement, and it's not like the motion sickness. Like I don't really get motion sick from being in VR, and it really helps that Oculus has this feature called Space Warp that always gives you very smooth head tracking and looking around, even if your sim is running at a lower FPS. So for instance, this is always giving me 40 FPS for the head tracking. even if the sim's at, say, 25. Now in this case it's not. We're at Oceano, so I get good frames because you have a lot of ocean and nothing really to render. But let's make our way back down, and then we'll get into the left downwind for runway 29. We broke our attitude indicator. Alright, well, while we're descending, I'll tell you a couple other things that helped me get set up here in VR. There's just a couple plugins that make life easier. One is OVR, I think it's called OVR Setup. I'll put the link in the details. It lets you set super sampling and space warp, asynchronous space warp on the fly here in the simulator, and then it shows you how many FPS you're getting, so that's handy. There's another one called Move VR, which I didn't use in this particular video, but it lets you drag windows in from your desktop into the simulator and kind of put them wherever you want in 3D. So anytime you see somebody live streaming and they're reading comments, they usually have a little window open up in the cockpit. They're using Move VR to do that. There's another one that lets you set the position in the 3D cockpit and make hotspots for teleporting. That's called VR Tools. So that's a handy way to put yourself in a better position in the seat, the cockpit seat. For some reason, by default, almost all of the aircraft, I think, they set them up as if the person sitting in them is like 6'6" and has incredibly long legs. You're all the way back in the seat and you're really high up. So you'll probably want to change that. Other than that, you know, I have a Razer 15 with an RTX 2060. You know, Razer 15 is a laptop, and it's doing fine here. You know, I'm getting really good FPS. I'm running nearly identical settings that I normally run just when I'm running in 2D. I think I notched the world detail down one. Oceano traffic, November 359 Golf Charlie, left downwind, runway 29, full stop, Oceano. I think we're a bit far out, but oh, I can feel that turn. I think I'm still a little dizzy from the spins. Our altitude's low for pattern too. There we go, heading 11, overshot that a little bit. No, not bad. Notch flaps, and you can really see it in 3D here. The landscape rises up from the flat green area here to the little bit of hills where it's brown, so we're going to turn base there. Oceano traffic, November 359 Golf Charlie, left base, runway 29, full stop, Oceano. I can really tell my altitude. Oh, really tell my altitude here. Oceano traffic, November 359 Golf Charlie, final runway 29, full stop, Oceano. Oceano traffic, November 359 Golf Charlie, clear runway 29, Oceano. All right, looks good. Let's get it all shut down. All right, so thanks a lot for flying along with me. I hope it was a lot of fun. VR is really cool for X-Plane, and if you get a chance to try it, it's definitely worthwhile. You feel like you own the airplanes. You feel like they're very real, and you can touch them. It's hard to describe, but I feel like I'm sitting inside of one. So I've just had a lot of fun plopping myself in the cockpit of just about every aircraft I own, and seeing how it looks and how all the switches click and move around, and being amazed by how different the airplane looks when I can see it in 3D and see the real size of it. So, as always, thanks a lot for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.